Yeah. So, today I wanted to talk about dealing with ongoing trauma. Um, because a lot of times we talk about like traumatic issues from the past and like how we've recovered from those or how we're reframing those or whatever. But um, Wendy and I, both being trans women, get plenty of ongoing trauma by being attacked for who we are. Um, our government setting us up for G-side. Um, so yeah, that's kind of our topic for the day. Do you want to get into your notes, or you want me to go?
I can go right into it because I have a story to lead into this to directly one of the points. So everyone knows I recently started working a job again, and so I have a very difficult time driving. So that means that I ride transit, and so riding transit involves social interactions that are at times complicated. And so one of my key issues with ongoing trauma is um, identity and invalidation. And so, that repeated exposure to comments that dismiss, misgender, or attempt to correct my identity from another person's perspective. I was on the train um, the day before yesterday, and like twice I got fagged, got called a faggot, and then two other times I had people walk up to me and say, you'll never be a real woman, no matter how hard you try." And it's obvious. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't even look like you're trying, which that's that's painful. Um, that
There's Brandon.
that hurts. Um, so that's my first point about um dealing with ongoing trauma from a queer perspective. Okay, Brandon, are
Yeah,
you putting on the makeup and brushing the teeth again?
Oh my gosh.
Oh heavens!
I
Oh
just I completely forgot.
you forgot about us.
Ah, I mean, I have no excuse other than that.
it's
Well,
okay, Brandon.
we were just getting started. We're talking
Yeah,
about dealing with ongoing trauma. Wendy was telling us about riding the public transit being called slurs this week.
Oh, yeah. How long have you been on?
we've been on for about 5 or 6 minutes.
Oh, well, I'm not as um I don't know. It's not as bad as I thought.
So, I just to rehash, yeah, I because I started a new job and because I have a difficult time driving, I cede to mass transit, and so yesterday I got fagged twice on the train. Got called a faggot twice, and two other times I got told I'll never be a woman. And one of those people even went so far as to tell me it doesn't even look like you're trying to be a woman. And so um, those are identity um, issues are hard. Um, so that's my first. We can go around the table because I know Miranda has a story about that.
Yeah, it's so crazy when people say that we don't even try and like they have no idea what transition entails. That it's not just like they have this like notion that you go away, you get the surgery, and then ta-da, like you're supposed to, um, be the perfect woman then. Um, and if you fail to act out the social expectations of being a woman, then um, you're not trying or you're not a real woman. Um, it's insane. And um, and I know that that's something that um, cis people have to deal with too. You know, um, it's the same fucking losers who used to say to me that I was not a real man or I wasn't manly enough, who now are like, well, you're not woman enough. And like they're so tied to these social constructs that are really restrictive and yeah, and then like project that onto us.
Do you have experience with that, Brandon?
I mean, not as much as you all, I'm sure. I mean, I remember one time when I was younger, I was I was mistaken for a girl, and because I don't, I mean, I kind of had, or at least, I mean, I think I still do kind of have some feminine look, you know, and when I was younger, it was even more so, and I would often, like on the phone, when I would answer the phone, people would think that I was my mom or something like that or whatever. And, I was always kind of embarrassed by those kinds of things because, kind of like you were saying, Miranda, there's a certain idea of what a man or even a male should be.
Mhm.
And if you don't have the right look or the right type of voice or the the muscular build or whatever, that you're not a man, or you know and of course, yeah, I've gotten called, well, I've been asked before if I was funny.
I mean, Brandon, honey, I'm going to be honest with you. Like at best, if I were going to misgender you, I would misgender you as a like a butch lesbian. And here's the thing about that would require me or any other person that would make that mistake to already be queer. So would that really be identity mismanagement?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all now. I mean, if somebody were to somehow mistake me for a woman or something, I'd be fine with that. Like, okay. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not exactly a insult.
Yeah, you mentioning phone calls and like sounding like your mom. Like so we switched insurance recently because my wife had a new job and our new insurance won't cover 3 month refills of my meds at my local pharmacy that I've been going to, but they will. There goes the pizza. Um, but they
My
will
wife
cover
gave me
3 month
pizza.
3 months refills through their like official partner mail order pharmacy, right? So everyone can get their fucking kickbacks and stuff. Um, so I had to call and follow up on my meds to make sure that they got the correct order and everything. And I'm talking to this customer service rep who's sitting there with my file pulled up. I've had a legal name change. I've had a legal gender marker change. So my file shows Miranda F. But my voice sometimes comes across masculine on the phone. And, people will be like, well, you should just voice train more, as if I haven't done any fucking voice training.
Gosh,
Like,
of course.
I used to, I, I've said this before at other times, like, I used to sing Leonard Cohen and Johnny Cash songs. And, like,
Oh yeah.
that was my starting point. And I've worked to get to, like, trying to sound brighter, trying to have a higher pitch and all that stuff. And the entire conversation, it's like, yes, Mr. Last Name, I see that you are on estradiol. Yes, Mr. Last Name, I see, like the whole phone call. And I'm like, just, do you just
I
do
mean,
this to everyone just to like nitpick at them and to invalidate them? And it's so unnecessary. Like,
And
I
they
think that's
know,
one of the things that kind of bothers me even more is that it is a choice. Like,
right.
they have the information in front of them to make the correct choice and to treat me respectfully the way that I want to be treated and then choose not to,
Well, not only the name, but they know what that medication is for.
yes.
presumably.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you would think so. I mean,
I-
working in that field, and so yeah, seeing the name and the type of medication it is,
Yeah.
I-
that's definitely. I mean, I would think that that's got to be intentional.
well,
I
no,
don't know.
I,
I
I've,
mean,
I've had conversations with healthcare, which, by the way, that I just to let you know, Miranda, that's one of my points is healthcare trauma related to being queer. I we're just going to go around the list. Um, and so, I mean, I've had people say, I know why you're taking this. I've had somebody tell me on the phone, I know why you're taking this, and I think it's wrong.
mm.
Okay. Think it's wrong.
Okay, you're allowed to think that. Go right ahead. Um, so it just, oh, it's it's so difficult. Um, so you want the next one on the list? I'm gonna give you the next one on the list, but one of you has to take it before I do. Um,
The pressure.
internalized internalized homophobia and internalized transphobia. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, good thing I never dealt with that.
Oh gosh.
just for 4 decades. Um, or 3 decades. I don't know how to count. Um, well, I'll take it first. Um, I grew up Southern Baptist, and then like in my teen years, I went all like charismatic Christian, and um, in both of those traditions, the idea of original sin and the total depravity of humanity are like major points. And Um, so you're supposed to accept that you're a sinner and then, ask Jesus to forgive you and all of those things. Um, and so like, I'm 5, 6 years old, already experiencing pretty severe dysphoria and going to church where they're calling people like me a monster and um like tying um like I mean even though there wasn't like as much discourse about trans people in the 80s, there was still um a lot of the church enforcing gender roles.
Yeah.
And so like, we're at church and I'm wanting to be participating in the way that my great grandma is and my mom are um at the church. And but I'm being told that no, you're a boy, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And if you don't do that, then you're not you're not doing it right. You're not, you know, fulfilling a certain role. And so I internalized that transphobia really bad and spent a large portion of my life um, trying to pray the trans away. And, you know, like, I have my mixtape memoir project and I like write about these different songs that have um, throughout my life um, triggered dysphoric feelings or euphoric feelings. And now there's loud noise behind me. I hope you can still hear me. Um, so like some of those songs are from Christian bands, and I would listen to those songs and like pray to either be delivered from my feelings or be miraculously changed, like physically changed. And I gave so much of myself to the church and what the church wanted to do in order to like build enough faith to be be right with God. And so, I had to deconstruct a lot of my religious training in order to be able to get to a point where I could really face the internalized transphobia and um, finally make the choice to transition. And when I say the choice to transition, like there's this ridiculous notion that like being gay is a choice or being trans is a choice, and we all know better. But like my internalized transphobia and how it interacted with my dysphoria almost killed me because I wasn't taking care of myself physically, I wasn't taking care of myself emotionally. And so the choice to transition was life-saving. And then, we turn around and it's like, hey, I just did this thing that brings me joy, that uh, helps me to live healthier, treat myself better, be a better partner to my wife, be a better parent to my children. And the church is like, no, you're wrong. We're gonna we're gonna call you slurs until you come back to the fold.
Yeah, yeah, I have the same problem. When you read the biography in its entirety, an element that you take away from the biography is that when I was younger, I had a certain state, and I lived with a parent who wanted to erase that state, who did not want that state to exist, who even took medical steps to make sure that that state would not exist. And so, in my younger adulthood years, um, I continually, you know, carried that feeling forward. I
Yeah,
mean, I always had Wendy in the back of my head that was telling me, it needs to be this way. And I would drink, and I would fight, and I would pound my fists in the walls, and I would do destructive behavior, and I would do whatever it took to quiet that voice for that same reason. And so even now, I find myself, I was on the train and somebody called me a faggot, and I had to think, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? If I'm going to be treated that way, there's a reason why. And so I find myself slipping into those older patterns.
yeah,
Of course, then I look at myself in the mirror and I say, I pick up my phone and I look at myself and I go, no, I am really where I need to be.
yeah,
Yeah, I have the same thing when, I have doubts sometimes because, like Miranda, I grew up in church and saying that homosexuality is wrong, and I definitely had feelings that I did not want to be the way I was. I prayed to God to change me and also to kill me because I didn't think
yeah,
I was going to change.
Right.
That he was
yeah,
going to change me, or it seemed impossible, or not necessarily impossible for him to change me, but that he wasn't going to,
right.
Right.
because I prayed so fervently that I'm like, well, I'm doing all I don't know what else to do. So
Mm,
I'm just maybe it'd be better if I was just gone.
yeah,
I never took my homophobia. I never pointed it outward. I never directed it toward anyone else in the community. I never felt hatred for anyone else that was gay. It was just aimed inward. Because a lot of people do the internalized homophobia. They hate themselves for having those feelings, and they take it out on other people who are usually people who are out and
yeah,
in the LGBTQ community.
Right.
I didn't do that part of it. It wasn't an outward expression of hatred. It was all pointed inward.
Well, I tell people that story. I've never published it, but in the epilogue of the book, I allude to the fact that there, somewhere in the back of my head, is a small child who's still on his hands and knees, praying to a God that won't listen to him for it all to just work the way that it is supposed to work. And the more transformative moment of the epilogue is the moment in which the boy stands up and suddenly he's a girl in a dress and playing in a field of flowers and feeling good about herself. And that's the
Exactly.
I've never published maybe I need to. I really probably should before I get it into binding
You
it.
need to you need to publish it and then tell everyone not to read it, like you usually do.
Yeah, don't fucking read it.
Don't fucking read it.
Laugh
Don't
about
don't
that.
read it. Here's the link.
No, yeah, here's the link. Don't read my biography. Don't anybody fucking paste the biography link in the chat. Brandon, if you do it, okay. Um, but
I'm not sure where
Yeah,
to find it now because
good thing I'm on my phone and outside, so I don't have
yeah,
this
yeah.
easy
Don't
of
go and
access to
find it.
all of our links.
I, I I tell you on the news site, I'll get it out there. But anyway, but that's the point. Yeah, I personified from a spiritual perspective the very child that did the same thing that both of you did. That said, I don't, I can't do this.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends recently about some of our shared childhood religious trauma and some physical trauma as well. And um, she was like, it sounds a lot like you need to spend more time with little Miranda. Because, like, when I first came out, like, I saw things as like, this was my boy experience in childhood and like through lots of my adulthood. And then this is now I'm Miranda and like we're moving forward. Um, and as I got like further into my transition, it's easier for me to look back and go like, well, yes, I was masquerading as a boy and not always very well. But like I really need to um have the intention to like say when I was a little girl this thing happened. Or like when
Right.
I was a young woman, this was my life experience. And it's, a different experience than the childhood of most little girls. But um to not frame it that way, I think erases that Miranda was always there. Um, I was talking about like the song thing a few minutes ago. There's a song that I was looping a couple days ago by uh, Me Without You. It's called Be Still My Child. And so the title is, ripping off the Bible verse like be still and know that I am God.
Yes.
Um, and a lot of Christians use that as like a comfort verse. Um, there's a lyric in the song that um, says, um, maybe she was hiding because she wanted to be found. And that has been um, really hitting me hard and helping me process that, I guess.
Yeah. Ooh.
Wendy, did I make your eyes wet again?
Yeah, just a bit. Um, just a bit. So I have a question. This is a question about ongoing trauma. And so this is a unique question because I get affected by this, um, but I don't understand if other people do or if they do in what capacity. So let me tee this up for you. Microaggression accumulation. Do you understand that phrase?
Microaggression?
Microaggression buildup, basically. And so, from my perspective, um, what that turns into is guilt, profound guilt. And that profound guilt is driven by whenever somebody walks up to me and says, "You are so brave for doing what you're doing."
It's a brave thing.
And,
Like I want to be brave.
um, you know, you know, or you're different but valid. And so, I, over time, if you hear that enough, because again, microaggression, it's not intended to necessarily be mean, but it does divisively separate you.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Like there are a lot of um, liberal minded people in my life who will sloganeer trans women are women, trans men are men, but like then they'll say things like that, and it makes me feel like when I tell you you're a woman, there's still an asterisk by that.
yeah, yeah, it's Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds has the record. Oh, but wait, there's a caveat, and here's why.
Yep.
Um, and so for me, that accumulation, that buildup causes profound guilt. And I just want to hide. Right? And I don't want to go out of my house. I don't want to, socialize with people because I'm not that brave. I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to keep breathing.
Yeah.
That's not that's not bravery. That's survival.
Yeah.
So you feel that like it's almost like an expectation that you have to live up to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could you live up to that expectation, Brad?
Well, no. I mean, I sometimes feel some guilt that I'm not doing enough, not speaking out enough, or not, um, I don't know, um, not being part of uh, protests or, these big outward displays that are fighting for people in the queer community. I don't think everybody has that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do still sometimes feel guilty that maybe I'm not doing enough.
Well, not so much just not even about doing enough. You're gay
Right.
because that's who you are. You're not gay because of how brave you were,
Right.
or how strong you were, or how different you were against the paradigm of the fact that that's just you. And so whenever someone tells me, Wendy, I think you are so much stronger than me for what you're doing, I can't. I can't reconcile that.
I try to accept it as, well, it's kind of like, I've never been good at accepting compliments. Anybody tells me I'm good at
Yeah.
I'm going to
something,
mute myself right now.
um, I'd I've never been good at accepting compliments about anything I do or the way I look or anything basically about myself. But I've at least learned to accept them more. I may not believe them myself, but I can accept that someone else is sincere when they're saying those kinds of things.
Right, yeah, and then, like, they mean well.
Right, right. And
So
that goes along with the bravery kind of thing. Okay, I don't think I'm brave. I don't think it's about being brave, but I see their perspective on it, and I just basically say thank you, and I acknowledge that there is some form of, I don't know if it's bravery or not, but at least confidence to be able to go out into the world in certain places and not be afraid to be who I am. And so I can see the element of bravery in that. I don't think of it that way myself, but from someone else's perspective, I can see that, and I'll 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 accept that from them.
yeah. Yeah, and, like, they I mean, they're seeing us being willing to go against the grain in a lot of ways socially, um, but they don't see, like, all of the internal struggle. So, like,
Yeah,
if I'm going out in public, it's because I wanna go to a place or have an experience or whatever, just like anybody else, but, um, a lot of times I have to, like, perform the bravery,
right, right,
you know? It's I know that people are going to look at me because I'm a cocky trans woman, so if I don't have my head up and my shoulders back, then, like, they're going to pity me in a different way. And so, I have to, like I feel a lot of pressure sometimes to, like, portray a level of confidence and bravery that I'm not really feeling. Like,
right,
what I'm really feeling is, all the eyes looking at me and wondering, like, who's a friendly and who's not,
yeah,
and what's the bathroom situation, because in some places, no one's gonna give me grief for using the ladies' room, and in other places, I better be looking for, like, the single user restroom, or I'm
Right.
not going to be safe, and, um, I don't I guess that, like, I am brave, but I don't want to have to be.
right. Yeah, and it's kind of a fake it till you make it kind of thing, and they may see the bravery part of it, but they don't see all of the underlying fear that you're hiding.
Yeah, they don't see the times I didn't go places because I had a panic attack before I left the house and couldn't do it. And
How many times did you sit in the car, like outside of the social establishment? And, okay, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go in. Get out of the car and go. Nope, fuck no. Getting in the car, drive home.
yeah,
Yeah, that happened. To me 2 years ago, I think there was the local Pride Fest, and um, there were protesters out near the entrance to the parking lot, and I had intended to go to this thing and saw all the protesters there, and kept driving. I wasn't necessarily afraid of the protesters doing anything necessarily, but maybe I know some of them. Maybe they'll see me going into this place, and they'll, because I'm not, even though I'm out I'm out to a certain degree,
Right.
but there are some people in the community that don't know everything about me and don't need to, but I mean,
yeah,
I don't necessarily want them to know. So yeah, there have definitely been times that fear has stopped me from being proud of who I am. And I just wrote an article um, about Matthew Shepard, and I thought at the time, seeing that, hearing about it and everything, even if I had any kind of inclination of coming out, that would have stopped me, like that could easily be me. It was a different state, but it was still a rural community, going into a place that he thought was safe, that he thought he
yeah,
was safe in. And like, well, forget that. I don't want to. That's horrible. I mean, I don't even like to talk about it because I feel uh, um, I don't know. I've always felt a strong connection with him and what happened and everything, and it's so hard for me to even. Every time I write about it or talk about it, I start to get emotional. So, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, people don't see the fear that it's associated with going places. They just see the bravery part. Oh, you went. Well, yeah, but
yeah.
it took a lot for me to go. I mean,
I'm here, but I'm disassociating.
yeah.
Um, so I have two more points to bring up, and Onyx is on the call. Onyx Rose is on the call, and I know she is going to have a comment about this. So I'll go on ahead and start with that one first, and that's um, intersexual oppression from within the community. And
Oh,
so I have a story about this. One night, as a queer person, I went to Mary's, and Mary's is not a very blended queer bar when you go to it. Like in West Atlanta, there's Wolf's, and that's like That's the Bear Sports Bar or whatever. And then Blake's is where all the fucking preppy guys go. And so I was at Mary's one night, and a bunch of black bears walked in, and you know, a bunch of people in the bar were like, "Why are those people here?" And so, or um, similar occasion where I was at Mary's one night, and a bunch of Latino guys showed up and came in, and people were like, "They're way too spicy," or "They're way too this," or "They're way too that," and so there's divisiveness with even from within the community itself.
Yeah, because like the other prejudices that people have, like can still have even if they're in one marginalized group. Um, so like there's a lot of, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say there's a lot of racism in queer spaces.
Yeah. Oh, quite a bit.
Um,
Well,
and you know, it's like there's all these gatekeepers. Um, so yeah, it sucks.
I think it kind of just shows that it's we're all human, and that there's racism everywhere, and there's judgment everywhere.
Yeah,
It's an individual person thing, like maybe how you're raised or whatever. Like within the church, there are Christians who are very accepting and loving, and then there are those who are extremely judgmental and hateful.
yeah,
It's not about necessarily what community or religious affiliation they have or anything. It's I I guess I don't know what happens when someone grows up having that uh, prejudice in them, but yeah, it happens everywhere.
so there's a very popular story here in Atlanta that is very key to this specific paradigm. So back in 2018, there was a bar in Atlanta called Burke's. And Burke's was owned by a guy named Palmer Marks, who was very gay. And the thing that Burke's was known for was that they had drag, they had drag shows. Well, Marsh had was very well known for using the N word repeatedly
mhm,
and without consequence. And so one night back in 2018, it was in January of 2018, Marsh had said something during one of their drag shows. And like five of those performers were trans and persons of color, five or six of them. And yeah, Onyx, if you haven't heard this story, you're ready. So um so like five or six of the performers were persons of color and in uh either drag or trans performers. And so all 35 of the performers that performed at Burke's that night walked off and said, "We are no longer going to perform here." And it caused a huge problem because Marsh couldn't attract the crowd that would bring people into the bar. And so after 4 or 5 months of that, he had to shut the bar down.
yeah,
And then the community, like, they let the bar stay closed for, like, he got out of the game and he moved off to greener pastures. And then 6 or 7 months later, the community got behind it, reopened the bar, and then said, we don't give a shit what color you are or whatever, come here. And it went back to being a popular place. But yeah, racism does not, intolerance and racism is not precluded from queer communities. It doesn't happen as often because we're all trying to stay together, but it still happens.
And I think we kind of, there was, Cynthia said, you're held to a higher standard just for existing. And in some ways, as far as discrimination goes, I kind of think we should be held to a little higher standard because we know how it feels to be discriminated against. So there's no reason we should be discriminating against other people because of their race or anything else.
Right.
I mean, when you have it aimed at yourself, how can you then turn around and aim it at someone else? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't help you. Like, it is just like displacing your feelings. It doesn't actually help you get past the oppression you're facing, and it certainly doesn't help the person that you're turning around to be that way toward.
Yeah, I mean, I readily agree with that opinion. I readily agree with that opinion. All right, well, and then the last item in my note set was, and I know you're gonna, I have not a great story for this, but social media harassment.
Yeah.
So here you go. Why did I get off of Substack for my long form content? I'll tell you exactly why. Because this happened 2 days ago. So I have an article where I wrote and told everybody that Donald Trump is dying. And really, I mean, all signs, I could shake the magic 8 ball 25 times, and the magic 8 ball will consistently tell me, yeah, he's probably dying and he's not aware of it. So, a bunch of those.
That's why they're using more AI videos of him making announcements.
Yeah. They make AI videos of him because they can't make real videos of him because it looks like shit. But anyway, so 2 days ago, one of those posts got cherry picked by some random MAGA asshole. And he literally says, why, yes, we should certainly take the opinion of a tranny very seriously, especially when said tranny spent years pretending Biden wasn't senile. Now, I want to be very clear. I've never written about Biden at all. And so that idiot made a lot of assumptions. And so
they think that we idolize politicians the same way that they do.
Yes, they must think.
And we don't. Like, fuck the Democratic Party. I don't care.
My default response to people like that is, oh, okay, I'm dealing with and I will use the words that I used in the original post. Yes, a Trump ass goblin. So one, freedom of speech. If you don't like it, get fucked. Freedom of the press. If you don't like that, get fucked. If you come in here, bring facts and evidence. Don't ad hom, don't strawman, don't virtue signal. And if you do any of that, get fucked. And then I told him 24 hours, cocksucker. And then I start telling your secrets. This is usually my threat to document who the person is with my gray hat. But regardless. So he then replies and says, I'm sorry. I can't reply to any mentally ill man I come across on Substack. I wish you healing and wellness and a state-sponsored stay in a mental institution to clear up your confusions and perversions. To which I then said, right, so ad homs and strawmans, clock's ticking. I'm going to break out my tools if you don't shut up. And he says, I'm sorry, tranny. I know your type gets off on bullying and scaring women, but that won't work on me.
Oh,
To which I then said, really? Maybe you just aren't getting enough dick. Maybe you need more of it. Are you getting enough dick? And so then the person replies, isn't it weird that you never actually hear a woman talk like this, but with trannies, it's a matter of time before they start talking about dick, almost as if they're just men creeping on women and getting off on scaring women and loving out their fetish. And so I said, this was it. This was where I said, fine, I'm not going to do this shit anymore. I said, I happen to know plenty of women who talk worse than I do. I guess you don't hang out in the same lesbian bars that I hang out in. Problem being is that they accept me a lot faster than than they would ever accept you. Oh, and by the way, they'd kick your ass faster than I would. I might just pay to watch that. And that's when the idiot blocks me or whatever. But that's the point. You deal with that on Substack. Most of my posts are rife with transphobic and homophobic and MAGA shit because I'm a vocal trans woman.
Yeah.
And I just got exhausted doing it.
it's funny that he said he couldn't reply and just kept replying and replying. But I haven't had any of that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't write like really well. I mean, just being the publication that I have being so gay is, I guess, controversial enough. But I don't write like strong like political opinions and things like that. So maybe that's why. But I haven't gotten any negative reactions to any of my posts. I did reply to Ben Yolancey wrote a post. I think it was yesterday or day before. I can't remember. But just based on the title, someone responded saying, "I unsubscribed to you because anybody that supports blah 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 blah, something about Trump, and all this." And Ben is not a Trump supporter. Just because of like the way that he worded the title, he wasn't like completely bashing Trump supporters. Wendy, you read it. You commented on it, but
yeah, that comment was great, by the way. And
yeah, and she wrote this big long in all caps that I unsubscribed to you because blah 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 blah. And I responded to her and said, well, you obviously didn't read the article because he is in no way supporting the president. And she said, no, I didn't read the article, blah, blah, and I was like, oh gosh. I mean, people are just, they just make these knee-jerk reactions, make these huge assumptions based on very little evidence.
Yeah. It's like, I woke up wanting to be bitchy today, so this is the place where I'm going to do that.
Yeah. It's like, but that wasn't a comment on my article, but I saw that on his because I had read his article, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to respond. But then after she responded back with something, I was like, all right, block. I don't engage for very long. I may say something, and if they say something back that's just as stupid or ignorant as their first comment, then I'm like, well, there's no point. And I block them and just move on. Because I'm not going to let that just continually I don't know, if I were to respond and back and forth, that would, some people can do that and kind of disassociate themselves. But I think if I perpetuated it, it would have more of an effect on me. And I know,
Yeah.
kind of like we were talking about the other day with depression, recognizing signs and things like that. I know that if I did that, I would become more emotional and it would affect me more. And so I know when to cut it off. Like,
Hmm.
okay. And usually I don't respond at all because I know, based on how uh, angry their comment may be, that no matter what I say, we're not going to have an intelligent conversation.
Right.
They're not going to listen to any kind of reason based on what they wrote, because it's based on assumptions or on, things that don't make any sense. I'm like, well, there's no point in, because you can have a dialogue with somebody that disagrees with you, and you might come to some kind of, at least, understanding where you're coming from. But with some people, you can recognize pretty early on that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And like it can be really tricky because like I don't want to walk away from the conversations that could be productive.
Yeah.
So, there's a certain level of like them starting with hostility that is like, okay, they're starting from ignorance. They're, like they have these talking points that have been shoved into their mind. But I think that this is someone I can talk to and like
Yeah.
start to help them unravel those things. And then there are other times where it is just a troll and
Yeah.
they're just wanting to get me upset or whatever. And it's like, try to have good discernment on which is which. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there are times where you could make a point and they might see, maybe a different side of it or whatever. But yeah, then there are other times you can recognize, yeah, this ain't happening.
right.
Yeah, I don't I don't see a need, and like I said, I try a couple of times, and then after like my two, I've exhausted my two attempts to establish dialogue with the person. Fuck it, then I can't do the rest of it. I'm with
I
that.
haven't.
And at that point, I hate people.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that kind of thing on Substack, which is why I am pretty, um everything in my feed and everything on my comments and everything has always been great. So it's I haven't seen that other side. That hasn't come to me yet, basically. Now on YouTube, yeah, I've had stupid. Oh man, people are just. I don't. I haven't had a lot of stupid comments on YouTube, but I have had a few, and definitely more than I've seen on any other platform that I'm on. I'm not on Facebook, but I'm never going to be. But yeah. Anyway, that's my experience with it, I guess.
Well, in YouTube's case, I mean, most of my shorts are pretty popular. On average, I 500 to 4 or 5. I get more engagement on my YouTube shorts than ever I did on my TikTok shorts. Admittedly, however, Miranda does way better. Although I tell you, Miranda, if you went into YouTube short space, you'd probably do better than you do on TikTok. For as long as TikTok is going to be around next
Yeah.
March,
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah. I figured I would stay until the end.
Yeah,
Turn out the lights.
yeah, we'll wait to see what happens. But anyway, so but yeah, I'd say I get like, I don't know, 4 or 5 fucked up transphobic comments or whatever. Click the little hamburger report, bullying or whatever, and then go on. I don't get repetitive, unlike on Substack. I don't get repetitive comments, but and it's mainly on my older articles that were really, really popular. Like I've got one that's almost up to 10,000 likes. Like that one, invariably, that one will get attacked easily once or twice a week.
Hey, I need to
right,
leave because my battery is 10%.
My pad's down to 13. Well, that hit all the points. So let's just say, am I going to do the one next week? I will warn everybody, if I do the one next week, next week's topic, just to give everybody a heads up, is going to be identity versus authenticity. That sounds like an approachable topic to either of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. Well,
I have thoughts on that.
Oh, great. Well,
and we'll all hear what those are on Monday whenever I think of what the thoughts are.
You're not thinking about the thoughts now? Are you thinking now?
I'm thinking about thoughts.
Okay, thinking about thoughts. What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie? Okay. Brandon, final thoughts?
I'm sorry I was late.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
I was working on an article, so that's something productive, I guess. But I just, and I saw that it was noon. I was like, there was something I was going to watch at noon, like somebody's live video that I was going to watch, I think, and it just did not.
No, yeah, I was going to watch me.
I'm going to watch myself. Yeah, I didn't. Anyway, sorry.
Well, that's okay, Brandon. Just next week, keep your phone.
Yeah, I don't have any other closing thoughts.
Signal to get your attention, and
I know I have everything when I'm working. A lot of times I just put it all on silent,
shove it all out,
so I don't. I'm not distracted.
Yeah,
but yeah, I know.
But I get it. So I'll try to more consistently remind you. Miranda, Brandon, I'll thank you both. Thank you for everybody that came. Please, let me give the link drop really quick. There's all of our homes. Please register and subscribe and all that other stuff. See you guys next Monday. Brandon, thank you. Be safe out there.
Yeah. See ya.